All right, homework 6, systems with 3 variables. So this one, I know we've kind of got 2 types on the homework. I'm actually just going to do one of these examples because there are only 5 problems on the whole homework set. So we are going to do number 1 together. I'm going to walk you guys through, remind you of the 4-step process that we have in the notes. So step 1, choose 2 equations in which you can easily eliminate a variable. Okay, so it says let's call this new equation equation A. All right, so let's work through that. So we are going to take that combination and label that A. So if we look through, you have the first thing that jumps out at me is that these 3 y's are the same. Okay, so we're going to take that equation, these 2 together, and we're going to call that equation A. Okay, so I'm going to do a little bit of separate work. So this, I'm going to keep the top equation exactly the way that it's written. And then the 3 y's that I pointed out, I want one of them to be a negative. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take a -1 and I'm going to multiply that entire second equation through by a -1. And that way the y's will end up canceling. Okay, so let's rewrite everything that we've got there. Sorry, that should have been more squiggly. So rewrite. And then this everything should be multiplied through by a negative. That'll get my first variable to cancel. Okay, so we do that. This, combine up all my like terms. This gives me a 5x. These will cancel. This is a -11z. And then when I subtract these, I end up with 21. Okay, so that's the first thing that I get when I eliminate, right? Next, step 2, eliminate the same variable from a combination. So it should be the equation you didn't use and then one of the ones that you did. And that's going to be our equation B. So this was equation A. We're going to do a second setup and call that B. So now I have to use this one. The trick is, remember, you have to eliminate the same variable that you already eliminated. So you can use the top equation or the bottom equation. It does not matter. So I know I have to use this one. And let's just say we use the top one again. Okay, so the trick here, remember, you have to eliminate the same variable that you already eliminated. So if you have a 5 and a 3, you can turn them both into 15. So this one's already negative, so let's multiply everything here by a 3. This one's already positive, so we'll multiply everything here by a 5. So now let's rewrite what we have here. So everything here gets multiplied by a 3, so we end up with 3x minus 15y plus 24z equals -93. So that's my first one after I multiply everything through. Bottom one, I'm going to multiply everything through by a 5. So I have 45x plus 15y minus 20z equals 5 times 37, which is 185. Okay, so let's combine these up. So combine these, I get 48x. My y's will cancel. These combine up to a 4z equals, and then that number ends up being a 92. All right, so that was step 2. Do my second combination. Step 3, put equation A and B together and solve that system. Okay, so once we do that, once we solve that system, you'll have 2 of your variables. So we have these 2 to combine up. You've got 5x, 48x. That's going to be hard to combine because 48 is not divisible by 5. And then I have 11 and 4, which is a little bit easier. So let's go with those 2. So I'm going to take this bottom equation here and multiply everything through by 4. And I'll take this equation here and multiply everything through by 11. So let's do that off to the side. Okay, so let's rewrite what we've got here. Might have to use a calculator for a couple of these. So this is 20x minus 44z equals 84. Then multiply everything through here by 11. So let's see, 11 times 48 is 528. That's a positive 44z. That's what we get to cancel. And then 11 times 92 is 1,012. All right, so we're going to combine these up so we can figure out what x is, because this is going to make the z's eliminate. So add these together, I will get 548x is equal to 1,096. Okay, so all that's left to do with this, and this has obviously gotten a little large and complicated here, so we're going to divide both sides by 548. So when I take 1,096 and divide it by 548, I actually end up with 2. So that's one of my values. Okay, as soon as you get the first one, the worst part of it is over. Okay, so then you can take this 2 and you can sub it in either to this equation or to this equation and solve for z, just like you were solving a system with just 2 equations right here. Okay, so I've got one of my variables. I'm going to go ahead and plug this into this equation and solve for z. So I have 5 times 2 minus 11z is equal to 21. Okay, so 5 times 2 is 10. Next thing I'm going to do is subtract that 10 from both sides. So without the 10, the left-hand side just has a negative 11z, and then 21 minus 10 is 11. And divide both sides by that negative 11, so the z ends up by itself. 11 divided by negative 11 is negative 1. And finally, step 4 of our 4-step process. You're going to substitute your answers from step 3, that's these 2 values, into any of the original equations to find the remaining variable. Okay, so you've got any of these 3 originals that will allow you to solve for y. So pick one. You might always want to do the first. You might always want to do the lowest values. Let's say we go with the middle equation just because those are smaller values. Sorry, I'm kind of running into this next problem here. Oops, 4x should have been 4 times 2. Sorry about that. Plus 3y plus 7z. So 7 times negative 1 equals 16. Okay, so let's simplify. 4 times 2 is 8. Negative 7. So when I solve this, the 8 and the negative 7, I end up with a 1. So I have 3y plus 1 equals 16. Next move would be to subtract 1 from both sides. So the 3y ends up by itself. 16 minus 1 is 15. And last move would be to divide both sides by 3. So 15 divided by 3 is 9. And my directions in the notes say to write your solution as an x, y, z. We call that an ordered triple. Okay, so x is 2, y is 5, z is negative 1. So you can see here my numbers got a little bit complicated. Depending on where you start, you might kind of luck out and end up getting one that's less complicated numbers than this.